Hey everybody, and welcome to the first annual PS2 month, where every March I take a deep dive into nostalgia. Why did I pick March? Well, for a couple of reasons actually. Firstly, that's the month the PS2's released. It's pretty obvious. Two, absolutely nothing happens on March, so I wanted something to occupy my time and be worth talking about. And three, on this specific year, the PS2 is 20 years old! 20th anniversary! PS2's 20 years old, it's old enough to take you for a ride, can you believe it? Why did I make the month in the first place? Well, firstly, nostalgia. Two, I've never actually seen anybody embrace the PS2. AVGN embraced the NES, John Tron embraced the SNES, Gary Chris embraced the PS1, and for the PS2... Three, without the PS2, I wouldn't be playing games or doing YouTube in the first place. I mean, this is basically the same thing as nostalgia, but it's my video, my rules. Shut up, Dad. Four, nobody really talks about the more obscure PS2 games. This should be my job then. Five, I just have way too many ideas to do with the PS2. And six, it just seems like fate. It just seemed like fate and destiny came together and made a baby, and they called it date. That's where the word date comes from, coming together. Since today's the PS2's 20th anniversary, it just feels like I was truly the chosen one to talk about the PS2 instead of bumbling off and spending 5 years on Roblox of all things. So, I'm gonna break this into two categories: why it was commercially a success, and why I like it as much as I do. But do be warned that you're listening to somebody who grew up with this thing, so consider this video a little bit... biased! Anyways, let's get on to why it was commercially a success. I think when it came to the PS2 Success, you can bring it down to 6 different categories that I'm not gonna reveal yet, but I will gradually reveal as time goes on. So where do I start? Well, I think we should start on the most key part of a new release. Hype. Before we get into the success of the PS2, we have to go into the success of the PS1, and to be completely honest with you, I mean, it's a great console, but when it comes to how it got successful, I don't get it. But you have to know that the PS1 was a monumental console, being the first console in the world to surpass 100 million sales. Compare that to the N64 and Saturn. Compare that to the Dreamcast and the GameCube! So going into the PS2, I think it was one of the most hyped things ever made. A PlayStation 2? That's more powerful than the PS1, which can already render super cool 3D graphics? Hell yeah, I want that! So, it had a grasp that nobody else had. But what exactly was the PS2 able to do? Well, play games, of course. Great script writing. But just how many were there? Now that we're on the actual console, how many games does it have? Well, there's not a definite number, but for what we do know, it was between 3,800 and 4,000. Wait, over 4,000 games on the fucking PS2? Well, that's fun. Why have I only got the one? I've only got 1.825% of the library. I want all 4,000. I want almost 4,000 on my shelf. I want them all right now. This isn't fair. Oh, just, you know what? Just, life fucking sucks. Jokes aside, that is incredible! Imagine it from this perspective of a normal person. The Dreamcast, which had 620, was already high, but the PS2 had... Wait a minute, hold on a moment. Alexa! What percentage of 4,000 is 620?
620 is 15.5% of 4,000.
So over 80% more games? I just need to turn to the angry video game nerd for a second.
It was every kid's dream. More games! More games! Yeah!
And now for the third part, I just need to tell you an important life lesson. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The PS2 had a lot of similarities to the PS1, which, as I already mentioned, was a monumental success. And luckily, Sony had heard it about 1 billion times, so they didn't fix anything as if it wasn't broken. In fact, they stick to it so much that they didn't change the controllers apart from a color change, didn't change the ideas of the memory card, and even kept in backwards compatibility for the PS1, making it a PS1 on steroids! So the best call of action for people would be to sell their PS1 and buy a PS2 instead. Really think about it for a second. You still have all the save data with the memory cards, you still have all the games that can find to discs, except if you sell it with the discs still in. And the other really thing you lose is a plastic shell. That's it. It's a no-brainer. And even if you don't care about the PS1, it appealed to one more demographic. Why? Because it had a DVD player. Imagine for a second that you're a father or mother to a family of 1 to 3 kids, maybe 4. Imagine that they're into this really cool technical gamey thingy called the PlayStation 2. But when you learn that you get a fancy remote with 2 thumbsticks, or most remotes didn't have any at all, and not only that, but you could also play DVDs, giving this fancy looking controller a reason to be used, then you'd probably just think, okay, but I already have a DVD player, how does this benefit me? But that's when you learn that the PS2 can also play game things that can keep the children at bay. And they're basically everywhere! Imagine for a second, you go out to Wales or something, go shopping for DVDs, and you find something you like, I don't know, Casper or something. And while you're at it, buy a copy of Lego Star Wars to keep everybody occupied. It's a no-brainer! And finally, it had one more huge thing that kept it way higher than every other console. Timing. Now really think about this for a second. The PS2 released in early 2000, when every other console in the 6th generation released in late 2001. Almost 2 years of dominance. And yes, Dreamcast released in 1999, but what the fuck is that? Here's the thing, guys, I would have originally made a section where I talked about why I liked it so much, but this video is really hard to make, and I want it to be out within the deadline of the PS2 being 20 years old, so maybe I'll make that as like a later episode in the month, I don't know, who knows. But before I leave, I just have to give you a reminder. If you ever want to accomplish something in life, no matter how difficult it is, or no matter how little faith you have in yourself, please, just remember one thing. It's gonna be better than anything Blast have shot out.